Hello and welcome back to GRIDwrap. Now, I'm wondering how you're all doing. We took a little break last week, but in the meantime, we have got some very exciting news for you. Well, I think it's exciting anyway, and I'm pretty sure Tessa does. And we're going to be talking to Phoenix DaVinci, who is our guest this week and who has built this wonderful build at Musica Jam for their gala night with Sky Galaxy. So welcome, Phoenix.
Thank you very much. Very nice to be here.
And welcome, Tessa, because you're here in role of guest today, aren't you, Tessa?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay, so I'm actually going to hand over to you, Tessa, and just see what you're up to.
Oh, lordy. Okay. Well, I think first we were going to talk about some changes on the GRIDwrap schedule, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely what you're here to do.
GRIDwrap is going to, instead of be twice just about GRIDwrap, we're going to include some changes that are spot-on 3D centric, in lieu of preparation for, while we've already gotten a good deal of travel from over from other grids and a Second Life from the announcement of Phoenix creating a client just for us, which we're very honored to have. And I just took a look at the way Jessica did her office hours, and I thought it was just really a really good way to do it, to get the word out. So we decided to dedicate Thursdays as part of stuff for Spot on 3D. We'll be doing a GRIDwrap Spot on 3D office hours on every other Thursday, and the other Thursdays will be featuring Musica Jam. Metaverse will be on Spot on 3D, videoing the performances live, which is hugely another big honor, and we'll be having some pretty big name musicians performing and giving them a little FaceTime, helping them promote their music and their talent, and help them get a following. Some that are pretty well known, some that aren't, and we hope everybody enjoys it. And Phoenix is a builder, and the kickoff is the 24th of this month for the Musica Jam.
For the Musica Jam, yeah.
And Phoenix is going to build something I'm sure is quite magical, because he's a very ethereal builder that I just have such a great esteem for.
Thank you very much.
Now, come on, Phoenix, tell me about your builds, because I've got you down for the you're building the Musica Jam build, aren't you?
Yes. So I've been very recently told.
What, right now?
But I'm very glad to get this assignment, because one of the major features in SL that drew me into this virtual world were the Elven Sims, where builds are freestyle much more than in other parts of SL. And even though I make many styles of builds, if I don't watch myself, I'll still have little elven elements coming back hither and forth. So I'm very glad that I get to build this project now, in which Tessa said, go all ethereal. So that will be splendid, yeah.
Oh, what attracts you? I mean, it's unusual, isn't it, for, if you'll forgive me for saying this, for a man to be attracted to such ethereality, is it? Is that unusual?
Some consider it unusual, but to me it's very plain and simple. I consider myself androgen. I have no gender issues. So therefore, I see both sides of the build very well. Mostly I'm attracted. My builds are quite squarish in general. Certainly, when I have to go in normal everyday architecture. But the nice thing about ethereal builds is that you can draw in all kinds of elements that are non-technical, but just enhance the overall shape of a build.
So give us for instance, give us an example of that.
An example of that, as in a picture, or as in...
No, just to describe what elements you bring into your build that...
first of all...
you wouldn't see in a normal sort of business build, or a square, as you say, a square normal build.
Oh, very hard to describe that in words, but where you normally go for forced structures to, well, relieve the weight that a build put down on the floor, you can now have a complete build rest on a pinnacle without any problem because you have that magical element. So you're free from weight, you're free from the distribution of weight, and that already gives you so much more liberty. Many of the design elements you see on builds are actually just cover-ups for technical difficulties and grew that way to become intricate parts of designs, and we see those elements as being put there for the eye, while they actually emerged from structural problems, and that all those kinds of things don't apply for algorithms because you can do things that are not possible in the real world. And therefore you have much more freedom while designing. But I can't specifically name a certain element that I would say that stands out for not being used in the real world and will be used in SL. No, the sky is the limit. I think especially the weightless element makes it very exciting to design. Because now finally you can free yourself of all kinds of restrictions that you have in the real world.
What do you think keeps people hooked to the idea of normality, the normal build in virtual worlds?
I must admit that I was one of them very much during a long period, I'd say over 6 months. I wanted to build because you still needed something to... I think I needed something to still have a sense of reality. If a build, a build floating midair, it was just your mind doesn't accept it somehow. Certainly not if you're not playing a fantasy, but if you wanted to represent your real world. And I think we have to go past that. It's just a process. After being in here a while, I think you slowly get adjusted to the idea that all these things that are necessary in the real world are not in here. And then finally you get the freedom of doing really what you can express your own feelings best.
How did you come to do this? How did you come to be interested in buildings particularly?
Well, the most simple thing was that I wasn't very satisfied with the overall quality of buildings. I found it very hard to find builds that satisfied my need for perfection, you can call it, and to get everything matching. That was also a very big problem. You always had to look very hard to get textures to match up properly. So after about half a year, I decided to have a go at it. And I admit, from resin the first prim on, I was hooked on building. It was incredible, the freeing experience that you got from just putting out this one cube and what you could do with it. So ever since that moment, well, most part of SL has lost a lot of its lure to me because I'm always building, having fun with prints. It's, as I just said, the sky's the limit. What you can imagine, you can make. The extra thing is, in a normal world, there's no kind of production without having to pay for the raw material. And I can put millions prints out with no problem. They don't cost me anything. I can res them as I like, and if I don't like them, I just toss them away and start again. That liberty is also unknown in the real world, so very nice to... I call them doodles. Tessa knows.
Wait, I got to interject here. His doodles,
Yeah.
are what most builders would call finished. And I'm like, this is a doodle? No. He's a wonderful builder. And he goes through his doodles phase 2 or 3 times before he finalizes, but it definitely adds to his creativity and the structure of how he builds, and it's just magnificent. And I'm like, okay, when you get done with that Google, just pass doodle, just pass it to me, 'cause don't throw it away.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because you don't always really know where you'll end up. You'll have to allow yourself to throw away, take copy of the real important things and throw away the rest what is not interesting, and just start again. Because then you already know those steps ahead, and you can take account for them from the first prem on, which makes it just easier. And I'm not attached to my build when I'm finished with them. They're done, and I need a new product.
That's very interesting. So, do you mind if people come along and start fiddling with them?
I must admit I've seen examples that were very, very poorly executed, and it took me some to get over that. But I realized that the final goal of a builder is to please people, and if it pleases them to do that with my build, well, then so be it. But of course, it's not really nice when you see that your builds are not being understood or used in a way that does not bring out the full purpose and beauty of a build. But you can't enforce your own vision upon people. It's just like a painting. You make the painting, but you can't decide where they hang it. You can't decide on what wall it should hang. That's up to them. That's also a reason why I sell builds with furniture and with everything in it to, sort of prevent those ugly things from happening. Most of them are very.
Would you describe yourself as a control freak then?
No, not at all. No. Because once it's, I have no ego. If somebody says I'd like this but in another color, or I prefer it to be like that, then if that's okay with me, I don't go, no, I want it to be, I made it like this, I created it like this, and it has to stay like this. No, it's open for discussion, and of course, not everybody has the same feeling for textures or colors. So who am I to say that you should be pleased with my vision on things? Structure-wise, it's different. If you start saying, no, I want these walls to be removed or windows to be moved along, then you'll have to be made out of quite tough wood, because I didn't put them there for nothing. It forms a game of lines, and if you start meddling with one line, then actually you start meddling with all the lines in the build. So that's different. Yeah. No. If you'd want the changes to be done on the build, you'd have to call me in, and I'll be happy to do it for you. No problem.
So you've been in Second Life for a couple of years now. Now you're expanded out to Spot on 3D. Are you on any other grids? Are you building on any other grids as well?
Yes. Recently I've got to know Spot on, and if only for the reason of the no prim size limit, that is enough to draw any real builder in, because it's so satisfying to be able to play with prims all sizes. And next to that, I think Spot On offers us a very, very good alternative for SL, and even in some cases a much better solution to problems. I certainly feel that my surrounds, my security, and not only that of mine, but that of people in general, children, are much better protected over there than here. So I'm putting my arrows on Spot On at the moment. I'm doing the best I can to get all my inventory over from SL to Spot On, and set up a little business over there.
Okay, so the man on the move here.
He's already made several sales. I mean, it's amazing. You know, but his builds are extremely good. So I can understand the people's attraction to his stuff. And we've just gotten our reserve boxes working. So in OpenSim, you can't just like do a mass selection and gather up all your prims and then stay together. You have to either link it all up or put it in a Reser or XML it back up to your hard drive, which I usually recommend people do all three because it just makes sense. You use the Reser box though when you're going to actually be selling it, so it's made life a lot easier for us and for somebody like well, I don't know what name to use now, Phoenix.
Sorry.
See, he has a number of names, so I get all conflated. Anyway, so like Phoenix's builds, you know, when they go to sell it, it's better to do it in the Reser box. But I always recommend people back that up in XML. That's why we have it as a tool, so they can always have it in their hard drive, and you know, they have immediate portability to other grids too.
Yes, it's a pain in the beginning, but afterwards you realize the value of it because you only have to do that once, and whenever you go to other grids, you have all those files available. And it's and actually finally you got rid of all these inventories that the different grids impose on you. You can sort your stuff in your own way. And that's very nice as well. It's only a big asset. Well, it's not nice to do. It's cumbersome. But once you've done it, well, you've got rid of that for a long time.
And, you know, soon I hope, nudge, nudge, he'll be selling in double Dutch delivery as well, which will allow his product to automatically go to other grids without him having to run over there, find a safe sim, decide if they're secure, you know, and then res it. That is the only downfall to the XML system, is that it's really, you're on your own. You have no way to verify that grid owner or that region owner if they're connected to like an OS grid system. So double Dutch delivery kind of helps with that. We actually had our first nibble from a grid, a member of another grid, and hopefully it's very how would you call it, serendipity? Yeah, because it's also with an elf theme, and as we know, Sky Galaxy has a bit of an elf in him, and Mr. Phoenix has a bit of an elf in here. So who knows? Maybe the unseen hands are guiding us all together, which is really pretty exciting for me.
So, can you see yourself doing role play sims in there, Tessa?
Oh, absolutely. I would love role players to come in and start developing their communities, especially the Elven, because they're so rich with very curvy, artistic, naturalistic, organic shapes. And if you've ever looked at any of my builds, I'm all about the curves. I just hate doing boxes. And I think that's pretty much where Phoenix is, too, as far as a builder. And, you know, the Elven just screams out for curves.
Yeah, organic forms. Organic forms, that's the main theme, yes.
Yep. My cathedral, which I've shown Phoenix, and it's in the spot on 3D Grid in Mel Mall, MELMALL. It's actually a ministry. They teach, it's like a seminary. They teach Christian, you know, how to be preachers and missionaries and stuff like that. And she wanted something very ethereal and had some, you know, magical, I don't want to say religious because I don't think that'd be the right word, but spiritual. And I resed it for her, and she loved it. And it was, and I like Phoenix. I love it when somebody just falls in love with the build. And I was able to update it with the water. And I brought him the. He says, "Well, it's not quite elven, but it's like ruinistic."
Yeah, get it right.
Well, the nice thing about those kind of builds are it's incredible what kind of emotions you can evoke with buildings, and it's amazing to see, and that I think is the most rewarding part for a builder, is that what to you are merely prims with textures on it, it means a great deal to somebody or a whole group of people. And they will be having very interesting and exciting times in those builds. And those builds, to you, they're just a couple of prims that you put together, but other people are really seeing them as parts of their community. And especially the Elven worlds are very susceptible to that, because they actually live in a world where they can't have those builds. So now in these virtual worlds, they can finally live that dream.
Right, and it's magical when it's kind of a reverence kind of feeling. Yeah. And I think that really emotes to the whole elven community as well. It's a very special, unique, magical, reverent, respectful kind of message throughout the whole community. And the people, it's not just in look and feel, it's the actual community tends to draw from that and tends to espouse to that. You see a lot less derogatory behavior, and you see a lot more of a tighter community. And I think that's really important. I think that's important to acknowledge, and I think it's important to learn from.
Yep.
Okay, so you're opening Musica Jam on the 24th.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've been doing. Oops, we've been doing. Sorry,
Phoenix. I was going to say, is this build? You know, that's it. We're not very. Oh no, it's 20. We're not very far away from that at the moment, are we? Sorry, I've got trademark.
No, I know, but for a real inspired build, there's not so much time needed. You just start on it and work out the theme. But yeah, indeed, it is a rather short notice. But most of the time, the best builds come from that because you have to take decisions and just go on with it and don't have too much time to deliberate all your movements and start. The problem with most builders is they never stop tweaking. They always go on with twitching and changing and just that little curve. And that. Sometimes you just have to be forced by circumstances to say, it's enough. This is the finished build, and I hope you're very glad with the product. And I already, the nice thing about an ethereal build is I don't need much inspiration. I start with one prim, and before you know it, there's a whole structure there.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like drawing it out of your head. So, I mean, do you have a real life creative side to you?
Pardon, I don't really understand that question. Do I have a real what?
Yes, well, in real life, are you a creative person, or does it just
yes. Before I got into this kind of creativity, I've always been busy with sculpting and drawing, and I love gardening and bonsai trees, and I've done most of the decorating in my house, which also very funnily gets copied in RL. People see that and think it's such a nice idea, and it's so simple. So they ask me if I can either build it for them or if they are allowed to copy it from me. So obviously I have a certain look on things that other people find very attractive, and now I'm because of course I've been dreaming all these builds a long time before I had the possibility to build them. And now, since I'm in SL, and that's my main addiction, and I'll gladly admit it, is that I can finally live all these dreams. Mm. And that's the main thing for any builder. I think you have this imagination, and now you have a possibility to express it.
So tell me, the mesh is coming into Second Life, for example. I mean, what's going to happen with it at Spot on 3D, Tessa?
What's going to happen at Spot on 3D? Well, like I said, every other Thursday. Are you talking about what we're going to do on
Mesh? Mesh.
Oh, Mesh. Sorry.
Okay.
Well, that's still up in the air. But Mesh is on the OpenSim grid. It is being tested. The code hasn't been handed out to us yet as a community. We hope will be soon. Then, of course, we'll have to go through a testing period. We'll have to decide how we're going to ensure that meshes that are overly large files and complications don't come in and cause havoc on obviously the stability of everyone's experience has to be taken into effect here. And so there's a lot to be done there, but I think there's a lot of promise, even if we won't get full-blown open doors, any mesh can come in thing. Obviously we're not going to be able to do that. There are just simply meshes that are far too complicated. But I think we have the opportunity to augment our avatars with new types. I will strongly oppose any body swapping type avatars, because I think it just really takes away from the experience when you I don't know, I don't want to swap out my torso and swap out my head like that.
No.
It's a little too Frankensteinish for me. I want, if we at all possible can retain the SL flexibility with 120 sliders, but with a new mesh that is probably better and more sophisticated. And it's not a matter of putting the old avatars away. It's a matter of bringing in new avatars and developing new content for those new avatars. I think it'll be exciting for everyone, but I don't envision us getting rid of any avatars either. So I think the idea for us is really to expand upon the type avatars we have, so that inherently there's more freedom for role-playing groups to display their avatars in more unique ways than the human form allows. And that's a whole nother option we've not even really talked about or explored, but I think the mesh has that ability to innately have a more fantasy-driven avatar to deform and make into other fantasy avatars. It's just really wide open what we can do once we go there.
That sounds really exciting, actually. I mean, you can do that to a certain extent at the moment, can't you?
Well, you're still stuck with 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, 2 eyes, a nose, 2 ears. When you go into mesh type avatars, then we can truly get totally out of the mold and break into new ones, because they can have different riggings, they can have different facial structures, and then on top of that have the ability to deform them, because that's really what we do every time we give ourselves bigger boobs or a smaller nose or bigger lips. It's all a deformity of our mesh. And once we start getting these unique meshes in, then we'll have so much more ability in the deform area to really create even more creative avatars. And I'm really excited about it, because I think it just shows, I think it's going to blow the doors open on what we see in avatar creation.
Okay, so what are you going to head for first, Tessa, for example?
Head for first as far as mesh?
As far as avatars are concerned.
Oh, what kind of avatar would I like? Oh,
yes.
I would love the alpha, and I love the ears, and I would like to not have to put a sculpt on my ears to get them, and I would like them to always look the same. I would like a lot more individuality in that, and I think, again, this kind of new avatar would allow us to do that. I would like to have maybe built-in wings instead of having to, again, attach them to you. Have an avatar that is specially designed for that role play. I think that's extremely attractive to me. It just makes me go, wee!
What about you, Phoenix? Any ideas on your ideal avatar?
No, not really. I've been in that part in the beginning of SL, but actually now, to me, without wanting to be disrespectful to the avatar, it's just an instrument for me to get in world and be able to do what I like to do most. So no, I'm not really into this avatar. It is only very recently bought because I thought that I finally should get rid of the freebie that I was wearing all the time. So no, it doesn't concern me very much. I don't have the time to enjoy an avatar. I'm just throwing trims all the time.
So does that mean that you're not immersed in the sense that some of us maybe, that you're using it as a drawing instrument to some degree?
No, well, at the moment I'm really immersing myself in building, but I'm looking forward to a moment that I feel that my portfolio is filled enough to be able to say I can sit back a bit more and enjoy some time off from this building.
I've got a question here. It's come via Malburn, so I'm assuming it's from Malburn and not from the live stream. It says, can you map mesh to Connect or webcams, etc., for better avatar manipulation? In other words, we won't just be sitting here. We'll have to get up and walk about.
Well, there is actually a lot of work being done on using multiple connects, streaming with the Xbox. So basically it takes replace, as I understand, and I may have this all wrong, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it would replace the cameras so that it could, because it basically is a camera, so it could view all the angles like a really expensive $12,000 mocap system does. I think we're going to see a Xbox jerry-rigged kind of, hacked kind of capture system come out, and then I think probably Microsoft will go, there's a real demand for this, and I think they'll make it into a product and charge us $500 to $1,000, you know.
And so all us mocap animation developers will kill ourselves.
Yes, because you've already spent the $12,000. Yes, I know.
Oh,
yeah,
believe me, it was a lot more than $12,000.
I would wait. By the way, can I put a holler out? If we're looking for a staff animator, if anybody would be interested, please email me at Tessa at spoton3d.com. The staff animator would basically do animations for our grid, so we can ensure that we have a baseline of animations that's needed for everyone.
Okay. So, what next? The Musica Jam is on the way to being built. Phoenix and Tessa, we're going to be Metaverse is going to be broadcasting from the Musica Jam grid, your inaugural concert on the 24th. You said you've already been...
We've already been doing performances on Musica Jam, our public space Musica Jam stage. We have actually two of them, one in right off the Spoton 3D hub, and then one in VSUM, which we expect to be used as that community starts really getting together. And we'll probably start going back and forth, doing open mic night and things like that. But more and more, I want to start pushing the idea that Musica Jam is not only about the music, but about the venue. And Phoenix is the start of that. He's going to make something quite magical, I'm sure, for Sky. And I think maybe then people's light bulbs will finally start going off, that we'll have these scenes for the musicians to rent, and then their performance can be not just about music, but about the experience. And I have a URL to something that we're aspiring to, and this is by a machinima artist that has just joined our team. It's Unplugged Escape is his name, and here's the URL for it if anybody wants to look at it. This is an artist who created 2 hours of original music, and he had a team of people who were building this scene around based on his music. And this is what we're really trying to attain to, not just stick them on a stage with a few mics and go for it. That is great. There's nothing wrong with that scenario, but we think there's so much more to be done with this kind of experience, and that it should be a true enveloping experience. And that's one of the reasons why we love Thoth Jensen's stuff, because it brings you into the belly of the music with the video and how he paints it across all the prims and the rooms he creates. But we need to do more for this. So if you're a builder and you feel like you have a vision for expressing music through prims, and augmenting that experience so it becomes more. Again, email me at Tessa at spoton3d.com. We have what we call So3D Dev Sims available for registered dev users, and they can actually have a sim for free to build in. And they can't, keep it to themselves for every day, all day long. It's meant for multiple people to use. But we do backups of your builds, or you can with your XML. If it has terrain, we can also back that up as an OR file and give it to you, as long as all the content is yours and you're the original creator or have permission to use the objects. And that way you can start and stop whenever your schedule permits. And that way other creators like Phoenix can come in and do their deal. And this is our gift to the community, because these venues will be purchasable and usable either on people's own islands using our new and upcoming hot swap technology, or inside the cloud with using the Musica Jam cloud system. It's all really exciting, and I'm just can't wait to really get this off and show people what's really in our heads about all this, and I think it'll blow their minds.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tessa, what inspired you to do this?
Well, I am a longtime pianist. I was a vocalist. I actually had an invitation and a scholarship to go to Pratt Institute in New York. But unfortunately, I was too chicken because I led a very sheltered life. My parents were in the ministry, and I just really didn't think I had the savviness of the world to go out to New York and go to Pratt Institute and survive. And yeah, it's one of my big regrets in life. And maybe this is my way of trying to make somebody else's dreams, happen. Because there's, like Sky Galaxy, he is such a talent. And when you listen to him,
absolutely terrific.
Yes, it just speaks to your heart. But at the same time, this person is very, very shy, and has a hard time. And I know what that feels like. Every time I come here to GRIDwrap, it's a gut-wrenching experience. What am I going to wear? What am I going to say? What am I going to do? Am I going to screw up? And it's pulling teeth every day I come onto GRIDwrap. But it's something I do because I know I have to do it for our community and for the users that we're bringing in and trying to mentor. And this is really, it's all about bringing people together and showing what they can do together. Not that solo work isn't important. It is, because it's only then you have your voice clearly visible. But I think it's just as important to collaborate and see what you can do with others.
Well, Phoenix, coming to you, because you're a builder, and that tends to be, it shouldn't be an isolated exercise, but do you find it is?
Do I find it an isolated occupation?
Yeah.
Yes, you do it most of the time alone, though I must say since recently I've found a partner that is very well with things that are too time-consuming to me, like working on textures and things like that. And that makes it much easier and less lonely, because we talk on Skype while I'm building. But normally it's something you do all by yourself, but you don't really notice that you're alone, because I can tell you this, sometimes I get jump up from my own avatar. I'm so busy in building, and my camera is so far away that I don't even realize it's standing there, and then all of a sudden it moves. And you go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, oh, that's me. Yeah.
Remember me?
I've done that too. I've moved in front of my camera and not even realized it, and because my avatar's doing its poses, and it's like, oh my gosh, I think somebody else is there, and it's me.
No, it's just me. Yeah. Oh. So that means I've often say it's almost like meditating, especially if you're building something which is really near to your heart. Then you're so absorbed in all these shapes and forms and colors and textures that only somebody who can do the same, who has the same abilities, can share your emotions at that moment. And if such a person is not available, then you'd rather not be stuck with somebody who doesn't understand a bit of what you're doing, because you can't share that feeling.
So will Meta put paid to all of that, even, because unless you can't even work on the same project, can you, unless you have the sharing program in some kind of sense?
First of all, you need the same view on things, because otherwise you'd be endlessly debating. But I can say without any hesitation that it's also a form of self-gratification what you're doing, and that is something which is also not easily shared. It's your baby. And you want to control every bit of it, and after it's finished, you can let it go. But at the moment that you're building, you'll be stepping over each prim that anybody else builds, because maybe it's a perfect prim, but your mind isn't there yet. You're at some other part of that build, and that has to come out first before you can touch that project. So I'm going to experience it in the oncoming weeks, because my partner is an excellent builder herself, And she really wants to help me out because she sees I'm a bit overloaded with work at the moment. So we're definitely gonna give it a try. But I wonder what's coming from it, because honestly, all my life, when I've been making beautiful things, whether it be a garden or a drawing, I've always been doing that by myself. Only asking for approval after it was finished. And what you get is when you're building with somebody on the same build, you are actually building and you're already being, well, not criticized, but somebody says, why don't you do it that way? And that already takes you out of the natural flow of what you're doing. And then you start thinking about your steps, and then you start debating them. And I think it should be normally a build is an organical process with me. I start with the front door. It sounds funny, but that's the first step. You imagine a build, and you think of yourself going in there. And then as you want to go in there, there's nothing there. So you build that trim that you want to step on, and from that on, you go forward. I don't work with maps. I don't work with ground plans. They emerge as you build, and that's very hard to share with anybody else, because standing for
that's a true creative process, then, isn't it? It is truly a creative process. Is building in the moment, as it were. And if your imagination, as you step forward, your imagination is fed by what you've just built. And
well, I have an opposing point of view. I've built with many, many, many builders simultaneously at the same time on projects, and it can be just as I think it actually pushes you to be more inspired, because they do something and you see them, and it's sort of like two-dueling a guitarist, you know. Somebody says a little tune here, and then he takes up there, and somebody else comes in with a little piano strain. It's really uncanny how building as a team is very much like creating music with different people, because different people bring different elements. You have the scripter who comes in then, and the texture artist who comes and, you know, paints everything with their brush. And I absolutely love building with multiple people. There is nothing more invigorating to me than that, because it takes it out of my head and blends it like a big stew with other people's ideas. And it just ends up usually being so much more than I could ever put in my head. Yeah, but that's just me speaking. I think that's just me.
I think you've been doing that for a while, though, haven't you, Tessa? I mean, have you always found that process?
Absolutely. I started this back in 1995 in Active Worlds. I am the grandma of 3D Web. And I've always had a team. I've always built with multiple people, and we've always shared our ideas and our skills and taught each other and bounced off each other. And Vic has been by my side, Victor Hua has been by my side since 2006, and we can build on the same building side by side and almost never cross over and touch each other's prims. It's so orchestrated, you know, and fluid. It's uncanny. But I think you get this way when you work with people a lot, and it does make it better. It does make it phenomenally better, at least in my experience.
You hear a slight trepidation, I think, coming from Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's going to be a journey of discovery.
Well, no, I can imagine this happening when you're dealing with real world builds. But as soon as you go into the fantasy builds, it becomes quite precarious, I think. I don't know. I can't give a real judgment on it, because I've been working with Tessa on some lonely nights, and that was already very inspiring. But at some moments also challenging, because as I said, Tessa would be involved with a part of the build that was completely unimportant to me at that moment, because I was doing with something. I was dealing with a completely different problem, and I'm probably not used to that, because normally nobody breaks my concentration and I just go on with that line of thought. But I must say she put out some challenging shapes for me to work with, shapes that I would normally never come up with myself. And that worked inspiring, because that forces you to look different on things. You normally choose the prims that... Tessa has certain prims that she's attached to, and so am I. And then you get this, oh, wait a minute, yes, you can see it from that angle as well. Oh, wait a minute, you can use that prim in a completely different way than you normally would yourself. And in that aspect, I can certainly vouch for what Tessa just said. You can only learn when you're working together with other builders. Otherwise, it's just like cooking. When you always cook for yourself, you normally choose the same meals because that's the meal that you prefer. But if you eat with other people, then you're forced to eat things sometimes that you normally wouldn't pick yourself. So that the same goes for building. But maybe it's just time for me to get to open up for that. And start experimenting with that a little bit more. As I said, I just found a partner that's also building, and I find it very exciting. But at the same time, we're already getting into hopeless discussions about things. So it's quite time consuming as well. You deliberate on a certain trim for more than 15 minutes before you finally put it out. If Tessa wants me to build a thing like a musical jam in a few days, you don't have time for that. You just have to, what I do is I go to an empty sim, I sit down and I think of the team that needs to be built, and in this case I have lovely music to inspire me with that. And slowly a form will emerge. And I can't use anybody with that because they won't be seeing the form that I have in my head.
Right.
I can have somebody come in after, say, having the main structure of the build put out so that they have an idea what I want to go to. But at the beginning, it's a very, very delicate process because you're not certain where you're going yourself yet.
Mm-hmm. And it's also finding the right person to build with as a team is not always easy. It's not just something you pluck somebody and say, hey, let's build together. You know, you have to have something of a common bond in your style, but not so much that it's ditto because you are trying to get out of your comfort zone when you do it. You're trying to get a new view, a new perspective, a new flavor from yours and their standard type builds. Like I have textures I always use on every single build. And, you know, this working with Phoenix makes me get out of that rut. And I think he has a similar experience with me. And it's been really great working with him because I don't get to build as much and I really, really, really miss it. So when I come by and I say, ooh, what about this? Ooh, what about that? And then he wants to throw it away and I'm like, no! Stay with it. It looks great. I love it. No, finish it, you know, because it's just that close to being done. He thinks it's got this far to go, you know. It's like, no.
We had a beautiful example at the beginning of this week. I'm busy on another build, which, in my point of view, is not more than 20% finished, and to Tessa it's already 80% finished. Yeah. That's rather a big difference. That was fun to see how sometimes you can lose yourself in details without realizing it. I used to call myself the prim eater because I put out many prims. Thank God on Spot On I can save on a lot of them because I used to make really big builds. And for big builds you need many prims in SL, but we don't have that boundary in Spot On. Mm-hmm. And that big build I'm just talking about, it's really a big structure, but it's no more than 500 prims altogether. Well, in Second Life, that would be at least double, to get that same shape. So you can lose yourself even more in details without putting so much prim out. It's a new experience to have that freedom and not be so worried about prims anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to have to draw our conversation to a close, unfortunately. We have come to the time where we have to grid wrap up. And but before I do that, Phoenix, what we generally do at the end of this program is just say what's in our minds at the moment, or what our hope is, maybe for the future, or something that's, you know, niggling. We just put it out there. I'm going to ask Tessa to take us into that part of the program. And so, Tessa, tell us what is in your mind and what your hopes and fears, or whatever, what's going on for you right now.
Well, with the transition with GRIDwrap, what I hope to see is that everybody gets into the office hours. We never really talked about the office hours. The other Thursdays will be office hours for Spot on 3D twice a month, and we'll spend about 30 minutes talking about what's going on Spot on 3D, what's happened on Spot on 3D, and announcing what's coming on Spot on 3D as far as entertainment values and such. And also, I'll be bringing a guest with me so we can highlight somebody special off our grid, either creator or resident or musician. Or staff member, where you can come and ask all your questions you want about Spot on 3D. Of course, there'll be some we won't be able to answer, but you know, most of them we try to. We try to be really transparent. So it'll be every other Thursday, something really exciting, and I believe soon the Thursdays will be completely on Spot on 3D. Yay! As soon as we get Mac voice working. Yay!
As soon as you get it all going, and we'll be right over there, which was always the intention. And so, coming over to you, Phoenix, what is going on in your head? What is concerning you? What is happening right now for you this minute?
I would say let's not only be busy with our own little fantasy worlds, which everybody seems to be indulging in so much in SL, but also try to reach out a little bit more and share each other's ideas, fantasies, and sims. Make it beautiful for not only yourself, but for everybody around you.
Oh,
yeah, that's
true.
We're
It's so sweet.
To our basics. Thank you very much, Phoenix.
You're welcome.
For joining us tonight. And thank you, Tessa, for bringing us up to date with what's happening with the GRIDwrap series. And that's, I'm really looking forward to seeing your Spot on 3D office hours, mainly because I don't have to do any work. So,
you are going to be there, right? Don't make me do it alone.
Oh, no. I think so. Okay. I think so.
Oh, God, no. You just terrified me.
I'm going to cast you. You can fly. You can fly, Tessa Harrington. I'm going to cast you off the branch.
No, I know. It's just I did your seat once. That was enough. That was scary enough. I don't ever want to do it again. Yeah, okay. I feel better now.
Doing your seat in the UK probably has a completely different connotation to one. But I'm sure people will be able to work out what you're truly about. So, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program, and I'm going to say thank you to everyone in the live audience, and thank you very much to everyone on the net for joining us, and we hope you've enjoyed the program, and do tune in on Monday. On Monday, the date on Monday, I have no clue. I don't know what day it is. I've got train lag, as I said. But anyway, on Monday we've got the Avination bunch coming in, so that should be an interesting program. So do drop in or watch live on the net, and we're same place, different faces. So there we are. Good night, and thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks.